All right, welcome back. Powers on Sports Podcast. It is now NFC West. I'm sorry, NFC West. AFC North preview time for the National Football League. Opening day is just a couple of weeks away here as we work our way through training camp, and we are going to discuss both divisions, excellent divisions from top to bottom. Tyler Jones, Chat Sports host, covers the AFC North and the NFC West for them, as well as the New England Patriots as well. You can find Tyler at Tyler Jones Live on Twitter. My guy out of Dallas, Texas. Welcome in, Mr. Jones.
Jason, always a pleasure. It's time we get to catch up, my friend. And it's almost here, right? Here we are with a lot of teams reporting to training camps this week and getting their practices started. Finally, the wait is over. Can't wait.
Is it 125 degrees like it is all over the country in Dallas? How's the weather in Dallas?
You know, I just got back from Phoenix where it was 119 there, but not humid. So it was just like stepping in an oven, basically. I get back here, it's humid and like 105. So I am staying indoors as much as I possibly can, but nonetheless, we're powering through.
Tell everybody about I know you're a huge NASCAR guy, and I know you've been to some different races over the summer. Tell the audience about your adventures this summer on the NASCAR scene.
Yeah, so on the NASCAR side of things, I work with a driver, David Starr. We do a NASCAR podcast together called Let's Go Racing, and been going to several races when I can, usually right before football season. Was at the first ever Chicago street race a few weeks back. And so that was exciting to see that. And, we saw a guy, Shane Van Gisbergen, win that race in his first career start, which is just unheard of in NASCAR. Prior to that, went to Nashville, and, this year went to Daytona and Vegas and Talladega. And it's an experience. And there's talk that I guess the Jags might have their home games for a couple of years in Daytona. I would love to see NASCAR and the Jags come together for quite the experience. Could you imagine, Jason, if the Jags are going to play at Daytona, all the RVs and campers and tailgating for a Jags game, that brings new life to that team. I mean, they got to find somewhere to play the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I couldn't think of a better place than Daytona if you want to have a big cocktail party.
You're right about that. You are right about that, my man. If you've never been to Daytona, the speedway is right off the main drag there on the street, right? I mean, literally right there off the main street there in Daytona.
Oh, Jason, you got to go next year. It'll change your life, my friend.
I actually went to the Busch. This will take you way back. When I was probably 13 years old, I actually went to the Busch Clash, the old Busch Clash lead-in race to the weekend before Daytona, way back in. This was probably late 80s, maybe 1990, something like that. I've actually been to a Busch Clash at Daytona before. So
now they run the Busch Clash at the LA Coliseum. So that's going way back a bit.
All right, let's get to some NFL stuff here. Let's start in the NFC West, where you had the 49ers, the Rams, the Seahawks, Arizona. Obviously, San Francisco won the division at 13-4. Seattle also made the playoffs at 9-8. Then you had the meltdown kind of in Arizona with Cliff Kingsbury 4-13, and then kind of a rebuilding year in Los Angeles with the Rams at 5-12 after the Stafford injury. Just give me your just an overview of that division leading into 2023. What you like, what you didn't like in the division going into the 2023.
Yeah, I think San Francisco's loaded. I thought that team got better. I love the addition of Javon Hargrave for that team. I know people were pointing to concerns about the quarterback position, but I think we can sit here confidently saying, Jason, that Kyle Shanahan is going to figure it out one way or the other, that he is a quarterback guru, a wizard, and they're going to be okay, whether it's Brock Purdy, if it's Trey Lance, heck, even if it's Sam Darnold. I think that they're going to be just fine one way or the other, that Kyle Shanahan's going to figure out that quarterback position. Not too concerned about Bosa not showing up for the start of camp and everything there. I think that, he wants to be there. They want him there. They'll get him his money. He'll get paid. The Seattle Seahawks, what a story last year, right? I thought it was arguably the best story in the NFL last year for Geno Smith to, go from the journeyman that he was to finally getting his opportunity and breaking out and having just a stellar year. Pro Bowler, NFL Comeback Player of the Year. They wrote him off, but he didn't write back. Geno was terrific, and I expect Geno to even play better than what he did last year. Running game, there's still going to be a run-first team. You got Kenneth Walker there, of course, coming back off of a really good rookie year.
Yeah.
You got two other rookie running backs coming in with Zach Charbonnet and Kenny McIntosh. I think that run game is going to be solid. The offensive line is going to be improved, and the receiving corps. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are as good as any 1-2 combo in the league. Now you add in Jackson Smith and Jigba to the mix as well. That offense is going to be explosive, and they're going to win some shootouts, I think, from time to time. Defensively, Bobby Wagner coming back is going to be big for that team. There's kind of this misconception that, Bobby's older now. Maybe he's not the same player he once was. No, he still was arguably the best inside linebacker in the league last year when he went to the Rams and played in a whole nother system. So I think that's a big deal for them. I still think that it's concerning the interior of the defensive line.
Yeah.
Brian Monet likely not going to be back for the time when the season begins for Seattle. They don't have a ton of depth there. They really struggled stopping the run last year. I think it'll be improved. You're bringing in Draymond Jones and all that they did this offseason, but I think it's still an issue. As far as the Rams go, that's the team that's the great unknown here, right? You have Matthew Stafford. You still have Cooper Kupp, guys that won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. But can they stay healthy and can they put it all together? We know that Sean McVay is one of the best coaches in the NFL, but has their time passed? And what about Aaron Donald? Is he going to stay healthy? He's a little bit older now. If everything goes right, the Rams could be a playoff team. But they let go of a lot, too. We mentioned Bobby Wagner's gone. Jalen Ramsey's gone. They're not as talented as they were, not even close to when they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago.
They're going to be playing a lot of draft picks. They're going to be playing a lot of young draft picks.
Yeah, they are. And they haven't had a whole lot of draft picks to begin with. Arizona is a mess. They're a dumpster fire. Kyler Murray, I like more than what people give him credit for, but we're just not sure when he's going to come back at this point. A lot remains to be seen as far as his status goes there. But James Conner's still around. The run game should be decent. Hollywood Brown's there, Zach Ertz. The offense has some weapons, but that defense has got a lot of major issues. We don't know exactly what's going to go on with Budda Baker. He wants out. Isaiah Simmons, he's been talked about being shopped in sorts. So right. Cardinals are going to be bad. I don't think they're going to be as bad as people think. I think the Colts are going to be the worst team than they are as far as get that number one draft pick goes. But the division is very intriguing. You could have 3 playoff teams there.
Let's stay in Arizona real quick and get a thought on Jonathan Gannon. The DC from Philadelphia comes in. They bring in a new GM. You mentioned Kyler Murray. Remember, he blew out his knee late last year. There's a decent chance he doesn't play a lick this year, especially if they're bad, because they're going to want to be in position for the number 1 pick potentially. Is this just a full-blown rebuild there in Arizona?
Yeah. From what I've heard, Jonathan Gannon has not been too impressive already. That he has not been very cordial talking to the media and going about things that way, and then he's been kind of difficult to work with. So hasn't even coached a game yet, not off to a great start as is. So we'll see with that Arizona program what exactly goes on, but it doesn't sound like things are super confident. And Kyler Murray, not only are we not sure when exactly he's going to come back, but pressure's on Kyler Murray to perform because he's getting paid all that money, right? And then on top of that, the Cardinals, with those 2 first-round picks they have, they might be in position to be able to snag Caleb Williams in next year's draft, potentially. So if you're Arizona, Kyler Murray's got to step up and put it together. And if he doesn't, then you might have Caleb Williams as your guy next
reboot.
Offseason.
Yep, no doubt. Let's go to San Francisco. Obviously, they have a great window here because you've got the young quarterback on a rookie contract. So you've probably got about a 3-year window here with Purdy to make your hay here. You mentioned the comment they're going to have to pay Bosa, which I think they will. What outside of quarterback, what does anything concern you with San Francisco? I mean, they've got great skilled players. Obviously, we know Debo and you got Kittle and those guys. Is there anything on defense that concerns you that makes you nervous going into this year? Or are they the clear cut, them in Philadelphia, clear cut favorites in the NFC?
They're the clear cut favorites. I mean, they got everything. They are loaded from top to bottom. And the big thing that they have going for them is their strength on the offensive and defensive line. I mean, they can bully you. And you add Javon Hargrave to the mix, and they're even going to bully you even more. And so that's what Seattle, the biggest problem they dealt with when they got swept, lost 3 games to San Francisco last year, was that they just got manhandled on both sides of the ball, that San Francisco team. And the way they run the football and get to the quarterback on defense, they are going to be a problem for any team they face with as strong as they are on the interior on both sides of the football.
Could you see a scenario where the Rams potentially move Matt Stafford either during training camp or even potentially during the year if another team around the league had a major quarterback issue and things weren't going great for the Rams? Could you see the scenario where they move him?
Well, one thing that has been talked about is that the Rams are kind of taking the baseball approach to this season when it comes to the trade deadline, where depending on how things go, they're either going to be buyers or they're going to be sellers, one way or the other. That if they're in contention, then they'll keep Stafford, they'll keep Aaron Donald and those guys. But if things aren't going too well to start the season, don't be surprised to see the Rams doing a wholesale changes. We saw the Panthers kind of do that last year at the trade deadline with some of the moves that they made and the guys they moved on from. So I could see that potentially at the midway point. If they aren't who they expect to be, then just going ahead and blowing the whole thing up potentially and starting over.
This division, they play crossover games against the AFC North, which we're going to talk about here in a second, in the NFC East. So again, not the easiest crossover divisions there, especially for the 49ers and Seattle, who we expect to be in playoff contention. Give me a player or two in the division that you really think could make a big jump and become an impact player this year.
Man, a big jump this year. I'm looking specifically at Kenneth Walker. He had over 1,000 yards rushing last season, 9 touchdowns, but somehow was forgotten about, was not given the credit he deserved. And think about this. He did all that, and he wasn't even the starter till week 5 when Rashad Penny went down. Now he's going to be, without question, the number 1 back and leading that offense. I think Kenneth Walker is going to be fantastic this year. And some people have said, bringing Zach Charbonnet, is that going to take away his carries? Is he not going to be the starter? Like, no. They wear out their running back so much in Seattle, and they need as many as the guys they can to keep things fresh. I think he's only going to benefit from having Zach Charbonnet as his number 2 back behind him.
I agree. So it sounds like we're in consensus. We think San Francisco's clearly the number 1, Seattle number 2, and then the Rams 3, and then we think the Arizona will be clearly 4.
Yeah. I think San Francisco is probably a 13-win team. Seattle's probably about a 10 or 11-win team. And then the Rams, borderline playoff team. They could be a 9-win team. They could be as low as 6.
Right.
And then Arizona's going to be bad.
All right, there's your NFC West preview. We're Tyler Jones, analyst, host with Chat Sports. Tyler Jones live on Twitter. Give the audience a little perspective of Chat Sports, what you guys do during games, what you guys are going to be doing during Sundays, Thursday nights, Mondays, about what the whole platform entails.
Yeah, so our company is twofold. We're on YouTube and different podcast platforms doing original content for a ton of teams around the NFL and NBA stuff as well. And for me, I'm covering the Seahawks, the Patriots, and the Ravens, and doing daily shows on those teams throughout the week. And then on top of that, going into game days, we'll be live as these games are going on, doing these watch parties where people can react and get their information as the games are going on with us in real time. And it's a party to say the least. We enjoy ourselves, don't take ourselves too seriously. We want to make it a fun thing that people are a part of, and have a drink or two with us. Just kick on back and watch some football and have a good time. So we'll be all over it this season. I'll be live during every Seahawks game, and then most games as well for the Ravens and Patriots. So check me out on social media, and I'll have more details there.
Awesome. Like I said, they do a great job at doing a little research on them. It's a very interactive platform and lots of different people. So, all right, let's go to the AFC North. We have the Cincinnati Bengals, Baltimore Ravens, Steelers, and Cleveland Browns make up your AFC North. Cincinnati wins the division last year at 12-4, Baltimore 10-7, Pittsburgh 9-8, Cleveland 7-10. A very competitive division. Expect the crossover matchups this year will be the NFC West and the AFC South. Just an overall thought or two about the AFC North heading into 2023. Very well balanced. You can make an argument for a couple of different teams to win this division.
Yeah, this might be the best division in football this year. The Bengals obviously are stacked, and they got everything going for them. I think the Ravens made tremendous strides this offseason with what they did to improve that receiving core with OBJ, Zay Flowers, Nelson Aguilar, Rashad Bateman comes back from injury. The Ravens are going to be really good. Still trying to figure out the edge rusher situation. Could bring back Justin Houston. We'll see. The Steelers, I think, are going to be improved. I think Mike Tomlin's done a good job with that organization. Kenny Pickett played a lot better in the second half of last year. And then the Cleveland Browns is kind of the great unknown, right? Deshaun Watson did not play good when he came back last year. We obviously know they have talent there, but can they put it together? And there's a ton of pressure on Kevin Stefanski as well, because if they don't make the playoffs, then he's going to be out of there. All four teams, I think, are capable of making the postseason. But the only locks, I would say, would be Cincinnati and Baltimore to get the job done.
Yeah, let's start in Cleveland. You mentioned Deshaun. Obviously, he was out basically 2 years last year, didn't play till like week 12, 13, something like that. Just talk about that combination of Stefanski and Deshaun. And like you said, a critical year for Stefanski. Needs to win some games. I don't know if he has to make the playoffs, but he better have a winning record. He better at least be better than 7-10, or I think he's in big trouble. Obviously, we know Jimmy Haslam's not the most patient owner in the world. Just give a quick thought on Cleveland and Stefanski and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I'm very curious what Deshaun Watson they're getting, because last year, if we're going to be frank, he wasn't as good as Jacoby Brissett was.
He was.
When Jacoby started the first, 11 games of the season there. This team goes as far as Deshaun Watson takes them. If they get the Deshaun Watson that was in Houston, then they got a shot to make the postseason, and they can win maybe 10 games or so. But I don't know what Deshaun Watson they're getting at this point. I think Deshaun will be improved, but let's see if he can put everything all together. To me, that's what this comes down to, is what Deshaun are they getting? It is going to make a difference, I think, that he is around the team throughout all of these off-season activities and practices and training camps, no suspension. That'll be a big deal. But, I mean, we'll see what it looks like when the preseason rolls around, because he was not himself last year at all.
Because remember, they probably have one of the top 5 offensive lines in the league. You got Nick Chubb toting the rock, so you got a great running game. Like you said, Deshaun Watson. Remember, they got Amari Cooper on the outside. And can the defense be good enough? Even if the offense is good, is the defense capable of being good enough? You got Myles Garrett.
Right, and they might have the best running back in football, Nick Chubb, too.
Right. I mean, so I don't think scoring points will be an issue. It's consistently, can Deshaun Watson keep them out of the disaster? And can the defense, when they do get the lead, can the defense hold on and take them to the promised land with Myles Garrett and company? So big questions. Let's go to team you cover, the Baltimore Ravens. Huge offseason for them. Obviously, they got the Lamar Jackson contract scenario worked out. Huge improvements, like you mentioned, the wide receiver position, OBJ, Zay Flowers. You got Bateman coming back. Tampa zone, Nelson Aguilar. Good offensive weapons. You got J.K. Dobbins. Maybe the biggest acquisition they had. They go from Greg Roman to Todd Monken. Very, very creative play caller. Just your thoughts on the offensive side of the ball in Baltimore.
Yeah, I really like what Baltimore's done this offseason. And we're going to see Todd Monken, I think, turn Lamar into more of a pocket quarterback of sorts. People wonder, like, hey, is he a good enough passer in this league? And I always remind them, hey, in 2019, when he won the NFL MVP, you know what he also did? He led the league in touchdown passes. I mean, he can be a good enough passer. And that tight end room is as good as any tight end room in football with Andrews and Likely and Charlie Kolar, who I think is going to have a breakout year. You'll see a lot of 12 personnel at times. Todd Monken loves to use his tight ends. The receiving core we mentioned is going to be improved. Run game, very curious to see about J.K. Dobbins. He hasn't been happy this offseason. Can he be as good as he was in the second half of last year? Definitely something intriguing there. Defensively for that Ravens team, you look at it, and Roquan Smith is incredible right now. He had a great finish to last year. He made Patrick Queen better. I think Patrick Queen's going to end up staying in Baltimore. They won't make a trade unless they get an offer they can't refuse. Marlon Humphrey, solid. Kyle Hamilton, I think, should take a big step this year as well. Still got questions when it comes to edge rusher of finding another guy to go after the quarterback. To me, the simple fix is go bring back Justin Houston, who led your team in sacks with 9.5 last year. What are you waiting for? To me, that's the easy call here. He's beat Father Time at this point. I don't see why they haven't got a deal done with Justin Houston already.
Yeah, all right, let's go to Cincinnati, where some interesting comments out of the owner this week talking about, I don't know if we're going to be able to pay everybody. Obviously, Joe Burrow has not gotten his deal done. Justin Herbert just signed a monster deal, $134 million guaranteed, 262, I think was the number, which, Joe Burrow's going to go a little above that. I would think that deal probably gets done at some point during training camp or early in the year at the latest with Joe Burrow. The Bengals make some big moves. Offensive line, again, refortifying that line. Orlando Brown comes over from Kansas City. What do you think? Your thoughts on Cincinnati? Obviously, we know the firepower they have on offense, a sneaky good defense, and a really good defensive coordinator in Lou Amarulo.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are going to definitely be able to put up points. And Joe Mixon's back. They got that figured out with his contract situation. They are going to be explosive and do whatever they want offensively. The thing for them, they're not worried about this division, I don't think. They might actually be overlooking this division to an extent. Their competition is Buffalo and Kansas City. And I think Cincinnati is, you look at the offensive weapons, they got more weapons than Kansas City does.
Yeah.
And some people aren't going to like hearing that, but it's true. I mean, you look at their receiving core with Chase and Higgins and all those dudes. I mean, they can put it all together, but can their defense get the job done? They lost a lot on their defense. They, like we said, they couldn't pay everybody this year, and I think that's going to be a problem that could catch up to them is, losing those two starting safeties and all they did there, they didn't really replace them. I didn't like the decisions that Cincinnati made for the most part when it came to retooling this defense this offseason.
Let's go to Pittsburgh, wrap it up with Mike Tomlin. Again, this guy just figures out a way to not have losing seasons. The streak continues of I think they went 6-2 down the stretch. They were in big trouble early. You got Kenny Pickett, who they went to pretty early in the year. Just your thought on Pittsburgh. I don't know if they have enough offense. I don't know if Pickett is enough of an offensive game changer at the quarterback position to get them over the hump, but a very good defense. They just re-signed Highsmith. We know what Pittsburgh is on defense most years. Just give your quick thought on the Steelers.
The steel curtain, the Steelers are always about running the football first to open up the passing game. Najee Harris, I think, is fantastic. Kenny Pickett, main thing for him is going to be take care of the football, make plays, don't make mistakes. The weapons that they have there on offense, decent, not bad at all. As far as that goes with some of the players that are there on that Steeler offense, you look defensively with their defensive talent as well. Really good group. Strong finish to the year. Mike Tomlin seems to be know what he's doing there. Well, the thing for them, like if they were in, let's say, the AFC South, I think we would be talking about them winning the division.
Right.
And with just how stacked this division is, they might win 9-10 games and still finish fourth in this division. Like it's just stacked from top to bottom. So I think that's the issue the Steelers run into. They are not a bad team, but they are not Baltimore. They are not Cincinnati. And so they're going to have that issue where they're going to rely on the coaching gap of sorts to win them football games. Mike Tomlin, I think most people would take Mike Tomlin over Zach Taylor any day. And if you're Pittsburgh, you're hoping that the coaching staff basically outsmarts some of these teams because your talent's good, but it's not as good as some of these others in your own division.
Yeah, these division games are going to be wars. They're going to beat each other up in the division. And to me, a key here, who wins this division is how are they going to do against the NFC West? You got San Francisco, Seattle. How do those matchups go involving this division? To me, will be a big determinant. So it sounds like you like Cincinnati to win it, Baltimore in a close second.
Yes. Yeah, I think Cincinnati wins 13 games and Baltimore wins maybe 11 or 12.
Yep. And again, I think it's going to be like you mentioned, the battle with Cincinnati, Buffalo, Kansas City. And to me, playoff positioning will be key here. Who gets a home game in the playoffs? Who has home field advantage? I think those things will be critical, especially in this division with Cincinnati and Baltimore. Well, Tyler Jones, awesome work, man. Keep up the great work. Football fans, Chat Sports is your place on game day. Check out Tyler Jones. We'll be covering Baltimore, New England, as well as the Seattle Seahawks. Check out Tyler on Twitter at Tyler Jones Live. And if for all and promote what your the NASCAR podcast one more time.
Yeah, Let's Go Racing out each and every week wherever you listen to podcast. Also, the Jones Report, the sports show I do, that's out each and every week as well. So check those out, and certainly appreciate the time, Jason. Always a pleasure, my man.
Keep up the great work, Tyler, and check out Chat Sports, and you have a great week, Tyler Jones. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.